y'all, it's Nanny with Hoot and Nanny Homestead, and I am in my kitchen. Welcome to my kitchen. This kitchen has morphed from what it used to be when it was actually in what's now the living room in its old position. It was a very bland, bare space with no cabinets, no counter space, nothing, but it had a sink. That was it. We brought a few pieces in, that we had from our other home, and we brought those pieces in, and it kind of helped give us a little bit more space, storage space, counter space. And we worked with it, we worked with what we had. Slowly, as we would get something else that we wanted to bring in, or a cabinet, or as we was doing construction, we would have to move some things and readjust. And the kitchen has constantly been going through these phases of morphing from one thing to another, and it's not done going through its morphing phases. I'm going to show you where it's at right now. All right, the kitchen officially starts right here where this beam is, and of course the refrigerator. Now the wall behind that, you probably noticed that's still 2x4 framing. There's no insulation in it, and no wall boards or anything on the walls. That's just one wall we just haven't gotten around to finishing yet. And it goes all the way over to this corner. I am so sorry about that light. Let me block it. Okay, it goes all the way over here to this corner. We got some electrical lines to run in there. We got some water lines. Those water lines right there, they need to be put in the wall there and better situated, and we still have to insulate it. But if you come on over here, and I'm really sorry about the light, I do have a little bit of storage underneath this cabinet. Now this cabinet here, from the refrigerator over to the corner, is the old original cabinet that was in the cabin when we bought it, with that sink. The reason why I don't have any counter space, even though I have this counter, is because for right now I have to have this toaster oven in here. I'm not a big toaster oven fan. I don't use it. I don't necessarily like using a toaster oven, but we brought this toaster oven in when we were using the Coleman stove for cooking, because with the Coleman we didn't have any way of baking biscuits or anything like that. So I brought the toaster oven in. We've been using it as our main oven. Even though we've moved our gas stove into the kitchen, we bought the stove used. So it was a natural gas, and we had to switch it to propane. We've only got the burners switched as of yet. You're still not able to use that oven. So that's the reason why I still have the toaster oven. Now, if the toaster oven could be moved, it would give me about probably 2.5 feet of space right here to use, which would be awesome. But as of right now, it's got to stay there. Now above that, I've got a little temporary shelf for my flour bin, my sugars, my coffee, and my tea. Of course, then there's the bright window. I'll go around it as best I can. Then I've also put up some more temporary shelves over here. Here's one with my pastas. And then here's the top one on the right-hand side of the finished wall there. Got my rice in my old cracker tin, and yes, it actually has crackers in it. That's where I keep my crackers. And my whole oats jar I made. Now on the right side of the sink, I got my tater basket, and then my dish drainer. And I'm one of those people that I let the dish drainer dry the dishes. I don't dry my dishes by hand. To me, it's just a waste of time. I'm not one of those people that folds up and puts away my dish drainer when I get done using it, and so I've got that counter space to use. Plus, we have our trash bin in that corner, and it's kind of in a corner behind the dry sink here. So even if the dish drainer wasn't there, it would still be kind of hard to use that corner, that counter space right there, because it would be hard to get in there to that. Now here's the dry sink area. And yes, I could use the dry sink countertop, but as you can tell, it's kind of narrow. I usually got some bowls or something sitting over there. And I have a lot of stuff, pots and pans and bowls and lids, and this is my spoon drawer, and that's my tea towel drawer. But since my mother-in-law made that and gifted it to me, I'm not going to get rid of it. Eventually, when we get our rainwater system all hooked up, let me show you here. Let me move my knives. You see that hole right there? We're going to hook a line going down and going to hook it to our rainwater catchment system. And I'm going to put, like what should be on a dry sink, one of those old hand pumps. So this is not going to get moved. I'm leaving this here. I know I could build some counter space there. So it's just, that's definitely staying. Now above that is just a shelf that I salvaged out of an old house. Actually, it was the same old house where the barnwood that I just recently put up in the washroom, that barnwood came from the barn, and this old cabinet came from the house. This is my glasses case that I made and featured in another video. I put a piece of Hoot's old leather, an old leather belt that had broke, and I put a piece of it on there for a door pull. And here's the inside of it. Because it's actually an old case, an old trunk case that has these rope handles on both ends. You can see the ends of the ropes on the other side. And this was the lid to it. You'd raise the lid up like that. But I took it and put shelves in it because the knots of this handle was on the bottom and you couldn't just slide your glasses in and out over those knots. I raised it up over the knots and built me a shelf, and it was still plenty high for even my bigger glasses to fit in. So I made that one deep enough for cups and this one deep enough for tall glasses. So that's all me and Hoot need. We don't need a whole lot of cups and glasses, and it keeps the dust off of our glasses. But let me show you what's on the side of it. Move my old dipper. It says Wenzel 1887 cast iron cookware. And then my stove. I got a shelf above my stove there, and I have to have that little lamp because I don't have no lighting over here right now. So when I'm cooking at night, that little lamp actually comes in quite handy. Then I just got a little shelf there above my stove just to hold a few little antiques I've got and my utensils for cooking. I found a solution to my problem. One of my biggest projects that I was really looking forward to making one day is I've always wanted to make a butcher block with a storage shelf below that has the big, thick, solid wooden butcher block top on it with all of my knife storage and just, you know, like you would see in a butcher shop. What, you know, like a really big one though. And I've got the capabilities of making it. I just haven't had the opportunity to make it. I've been so busy with just the basic construction of the cabin that I need to get that done. Building a butcher block is something I can do later. But that butcher block was going to be quite huge, and it was going to serve the purpose of a prep space that I really need. So even though when I designed this kitchen, you know, where I wanted things to sit, where I wanted my cabinets to be, and how, you know, where the refrigerator was going to sit, the stove was going to sit, things like that, that butcher block was going to serve as storage, and it was going to serve as counter space and prep space. Well, because I don't have time to build the butcher block, I am now in a position where I just need that counter space. So while Hoot was here this last weekend for a visit, he helped me move my idea into the kitchen. This table that you see here in front of me, this gray table, is the table that I had built for my outside kitchen, my outdoor kitchen. There was nowhere to sit my food and to prep it outside. So I had a bunch of just old scrap lumber, and I took that old scrap lumber and I constructed this temporary table for outside use. And I realized, you know what? I think that would serve me better now inside the cabin than outside the cabin. Let me show you that table. Well, there it is. It don't look like much. That's because it was never intended to be in the house. Its legs are crooked. It's made out of old rough lumber. I've used it outside doing construction work. And the top of it is in extremely rough condition. This is where I chopped some kindling one day. And some of the boards are even starting to kind of rot out. But you know what? I need table space. So I'm going to use my outdoor kitchen table indoors. And this table is kind of like when we moved it in here, it was kind of like the Christmas tree. When you go out in the woods and you cut a Christmas tree, it ends up growing. When you put it in the house, the top of it ends up bending over because the tree's way bigger than you thought it was. Well, this table kind of did the same thing. When we moved it in here, I was like, geez, I did not realize this thing was this huge. But it is. It is really big. But I want you to look at how I made this thing. Like I said, it's made out of scrap lumber just thrown together. Those are some old scrap pieces of 4x4 I had laying around. And I was in such a hurry to just throw this thing together one day when me and my mom was trying to cook outside by the campfire. Look at that piece. It just barely reached the length I needed, but it did reach. So I used it. And I didn't even take time to cut this one off over here. Mom's like, well, ain't you going to cut that end off square? And I said, well, why? It ain't hurting nothing. I mean, it is crooked. The legs don't come down square and straight. And that one's not even a 4x4. It's an old piece of little landscaping timbers. That's the words I was looking for. But yeah, this one I think is a 2x8. Yeah, that's wide. I don't know if y'all realize how wide that is. That's wide. It's huge. That's a 2x8. And I think the one on the other side is a 2x6. Yeah. Ooh, there's some mud up in there. I need to get that off. But yeah, look at it. It's all rotten out. Now, I can't use this table for prep space in the condition it's in, obviously. I'm going to have to put something on the top of it. So I went through my salvage lumber. Yeah, I'm not going to go buy brand new lumber for something that's temporary. So I went through my salvage lumber and I found some big wide boards that I had gotten from my brother-in-law that works in construction in his last flip house.